Yo, yo, what's going on? Hold on 1 second. I'll click record because I've just been sitting around like a lazy fucking shit. Ugh. Do I need, hold on. If I don't hit record, I'm not going to start. And even though I have a Sag moon and a Leo rising, I'm not that motivated right now. But thank God I'm talented. That's a good start. At least I have that. But if I wasn't, I'd be screwed. All right. Anyways, snap out of it. Let's see. So we got the crew right now. You probably can't see. She's just been standing there. This is Ina. Ina, come on, show your face. Here, come on. Softest cat ever. Velvet mink fur. All right. Lyman. Sorry about the infertility. Sorry about the X. Okay, so you've had some rough experiences. Um, and you learned a lot, even though it's been some bad lessons, or difficult lessons. Learn to let go. And now you're trying to figure out what's next. And unfortunately, you live in a world where there's not that much cool shit to do. Be an accountant, drive Uber, sales. So I think a lot of people have things that they love to do. Um, but there's something in their heads that says, "Oh, I can't do that." You know, like for example, I do it too, right? I know I would be an amazing YouTube person, even though I already do Instagram, but I know I would be great at making videos. And I was walking in the park today and I was telling myself, I was like, like I know this shit. It's like if I started today, maybe in a year I would have, you know, I mean, I guess I already have a YouTube, but like an actual really try. Like maybe I'd have like, I guess like 1,600, but maybe I'd have like 2,000 subscribers. Um, like maybe yeah, like 500 new ones. And maybe after 2 years, I would have, you know, 1,000. Like who knows, right? Um, and that's option A. Or option B is just a year from today, still being at that place of zero and just wondering, like, huh, I wonder where I'd be. And then 5 years pass, it's like, yo, 1,000% I would be somewhere right now. So we all have that to some degree. I was actually at my doctor's today, and he asked me, it's kind of like a random conversation. He was just like, "What do you see? Like, what do you want to do with your life? What do you see yourself in the next 5, 10 years?" And it was crazy because I didn't fucking know. I was like, obviously, I love astrology, but not to make this about me. But I still was like, I don't know. Like, I want to travel. I want to make. I feel like I'm very good on video. That's what I love doing, making videos. And but I didn't know, and that's from someone like who has an online platform of some sort, right? So I think the majority of people um don't know, even if they act like they do. Where's the clock? Two. Yeah. So all right, let's take a look. I'm gonna go off camera a little bit. Magical crystal that tells me all the answers. Just joking. I doesn't tell me shit. Who knows? What are you two cats doing on my bed? What are you guys doing? You guys being nice to each other? No fighting. All right. Hmm. Okay, that's interesting. So, your big three, you have a nice connection between them. They're all sextiling each other, or it's a mini grand trine, elemental mini grand trine, which means that Taurus obviously gets along very well. So your sun, your moon, Taurus and Virgo, both are signs, very good connection. And then when signs are two signs away from each other, like Virgo and Taurus are from Cancer, they sextile each other, and that's a smooth relationship, right? Taurus and Cancer is very similar, and then Virgo also in Cancer. So that in itself creates kind of like this. I would say those energies are quite domestic. Now Virgos is very unpredictable. Virgo moon has that emotional need for, well, it's different, right? A lot of Virgos can sometimes be more like Pisces than Virgos. It's the opposite sign. So they can be very, very spiritual, very go with the flow, or just the opposite, just like big, big sticklers. Hold up. Okay. Um, yeah, and I would say like obviously as a Virgo, with the Virgo moon, the moon is non-negotiable. Sorry. Yeah, so the moon is obviously a non-negotiable, right? It is what we need. I made a post about that yesterday. And especially in times of stress. So Virgo moon, there's a need for a level of cleanliness. Um, things need to be in order, and it's ruled by Mercury, so a lot of times Mercury ruled moons, they, especially Virgo, when they have issues, they'll prefer to talk things out. Sometimes they have to watch out for being overly logical with their emotions, because emotions are, it's all, it's not things. It's like the idea of the person that goes to therapy for 2 years and just talks about their problems. It doesn't actually feel into them, which, yeah, I kind of do that. Um, so a lot of moon signs have that issue in different ways, right? So yeah, but like also with Virgo moon, in a third house moon tends to really like to speak about their emotions. Now with Virgo moon, there can also be a very deep, sometimes over analysis of the self that can come off as that can be a little bit overly critical. And perfectionist, right? So that's the obvious thing with Virgo moons is that they have their best results when they're able to just go with the flow. They'll be very, very health centered, routine centered, all that, the Virgo stuff. But then also, find that balance between when is it too much, right? When is it too much? Yeah. Um, the moon's on the IC, so there is also a deep, deep connection to family, and to the past. So, IC moon people, it's super important for them to have their family connections in a good place. Yeah, very, very important. Virgo moon. Oh, yeah. Also Virgo moon, there's a big link between it's a very psychosomatic lunar position. So you can actually tell a lot about your emotions by your body. Um, so like sometimes, like for example, if Virgo moon is overworking, they they could get sick or something like that, right? It's a common thing. So yeah, being Taurus, obviously, There is, and also another thing about moon on the IC is that there's a level of like if there's something because your moon is square Uranus, right? So if a lot of times that moon square Uranus people a lot of times they are chronic movers. Yeah, they like to kind of switch locations a lot. Oftentimes their parents were divorced when they were younger. Um, so yeah, it can be a bit hard for them to stay in one place. And they can get bored really, really fast, right? Yeah, they can get bored very, very fast. So yeah, I would say that also with Moon Square Uranus, it can make someone very unpredictable emotionally, and there can be a sense of nervousness where they're like, it's just tough to be consistent, right? Tough to be consistent, and um, they can have lots of, very swinging emotions, right? Very, very swinging emotions. Let's see here. Is that a T square? Interesting. And it opposes Jupiter. That's interesting. So, yeah, I need to look at something. So yeah, I would say just with any like moon Uranus, there's just a lot of like there's this real need for stimulation, right? And it does create a very exciting life, but it can be very hard to just be grounded and to just be like, all right, I'm happy with what is. And trust me, I struggle with that too, right? Um, and it's a very unconsciously often, but just very rebellious. It doesn't want to just go the way society tells it to go. So when you're talking about your life purpose, you'd be someone who'd be willing to do something like that other people would deem too risky. It creates a risk taker. Um, but yeah, sometimes it can be really hard, like in relationships, to stay consistent, not in like in a cheating way, but yeah, with that placement, yeah, it just makes change very, very appealing. Let's just leave it at that. Almost, and sometimes it can be reckless. And then when you have Jupiter opposing your moon, that can make you prone to excess. So when you combine all these two, and the T square shoots out in Gemini in the 12th house, right? So that basically means that the healing for some of this emotional stuff for you is being able to plug into acts of service. So that could be a career, with your Chiron there as well. Something dealing with the collective unconscious, with healing people, being of service. Anything that makes you feel like high spirituality, that makes you feel even like, like for example, like analyzing your own dreams, learning some form of psychotherapy. Um, yeah. Speaking of school, Jupiter in the ninth house, especially in Pisces, like that can make you a very good spiritual student. And it can make you really, really want like very, very like good at attracting, teachers of the more spiritual nature, which doesn't mean like a monk in Tibet. Um, just, it could even be like a social worker or someone in that type of field that really um helps, right? Helps you kind of get things. And yeah, and just move your own level of compassion up. Yeah, so I think with yeah, with that there's usually a very unorthodox upbringing. Um Sometimes people with that who have kids, they have like a very like different way of bringing up their kids. And yeah, in relationships, there's just that balance between like detachment and closeness, and it can be very hard to like, one day wanting closeness, one day wanting space, independence. So just that the goal there is um solid communication about that. And yeah, it makes someone very like good with psychology and very humanitarian, but also very anti-traditionalist. So yeah, I think that like the Jupiter moon opposition, it can just, yeah, it can make one prone to excess. And when you have that Uranus, it could just be like too much change, too much grass, grass is green on the other side type vibes. Like it makes one really, really optimistic. So like Jupiter aspects are not bad in themselves. Like even opposition squares, like they're not necessarily bad, but they can be. It's like going to the casino and thinking you're going to automatically win, right? Which obviously, if you have a lot of confidence, it can make you, really, really like they say that to be successful, the most successful people in the world have a level of delusion about themselves, right? Like Kobe Bryant, basketball player, right? He just had this vibe that he like even before he was there that he was the best, like he just was like I'm that guy, and then he became that guy, right? Maybe if he didn't have that mindset, he wouldn't be like that. But yeah, so there's a few things in your chart that are speaking about addiction. Now, what's interesting is you mentioned your ex, and I've seen this in a lot of readings with clients that a lot of the things that when I see addiction in someone's chart, it's often in their parents or partner. So it's very interesting. And I wonder how that might be like on a psychological level, like a some level of some reflection of something in the self that needs to be looked at. Because I think of addiction, as a spiritual disease, right? And I think of spiritual disease as like nothing being good enough, like nothing's ever good enough, which can happen. It can be very hard for that Uranus square to just be satisfied, but like that's a good thing in a sense, right? Because it's like, well, I don't know. I was walking the park, and I was just like seeing all these people today, just very happy with their lives, and I was just like, man, like I just wish, but I also kind of don't. But I suffer so much from just not being able to be okay with the normal life, like I see how happy some people are who have kids and who, are close to their families, and it's beautiful and all that, but I just want more, and that's a very Uranus thing. But yeah, moderation, self-control is really important. And a lot of times like giving too much to a partner is common, and making, yeah, like decisions too fast, right? That's another Uranus moon thing. It's like very impulsive decisions. And if I think that the challenge for you is like how do you make your decisions based off of your emotions, um as opposed to logic, because sometimes the logical answer is not the right answer, right? Mm, hold on just a second. Yeah. So yeah, it makes boundary setting very, very important. And going back to the idea, so your North Node's in Aries, right, with your sun. So you're here to be the star of your own, like you're here to be the main character of your own journey, right? Um, and they're in different signs too. So North Node in Aries, right? So you're having a lot of karma right now because of the nodes. Obviously you have the your natal chart that never changes, and you have the current astrology that's always changing, right? So right now the North Node is actually you just had your nodal return in the last few months, right? So um this is a real time, um, very, very karmic time in your life where you're really reassessing where you're at in terms of your North Node journey. And your North Node journey, when we look at it, it's North Node in conjunct Sun, and then South Nodes with Pluto. Yeah. So, that is someone who, and it's interesting also, you said, oh my God, that's so crazy. So you said your ex was a addict, right? You literally, Mars and Neptune together, that equals addiction, right? Poison. And that's in your seventh house of partners. Isn't that crazy? That's fucking crazy. Yeah, that was so good. I have to like put that in my story. I'm gonna re-say it, sorry. Yeah, so it's crazy too, is that you said that you had a partner with a substance addiction issue, and you have Mars, Neptune in your seventh house. So Mars and Neptune together, it's very much linked to addiction. I see it with a lot of my clients, as I said earlier, manifesting in their parents or in it's usually not them, which is so interesting, right? But yeah, that's just crazy what astrology does. But yeah, so with the North Node in Aries, and South Node with Pluto, Pluto, South Node energy, there's always some level of trauma from past lives that you come in this life. It's not a square, but still, you're trying to get past that. And North Node in Aries, it's about being the boss of your own life. It's about moving to the next level and really being a pioneer in your own life. And not allowing relationships to define you so much, right? Because that's difficult, right? And so a lot of times that is the South Node in Libra energy. And with Pluto, there could have been, because it opposes your North Node, there could have been some kind of dark force, whether it was in society or it's in the fifth. So basically your creative essence was restricted in some way, right? And even the nodes square the descendant. So it's like, um and they're in the sign of relationships Libra. So you've had a lot, like your past life, like a lot of the karma for you is around relationships and around fixing any codependency issues, right? So, and there can be a lot of projection that can happen with this type of thing. Um, so it's just really, really important to use situations to really look, okay, what was me, what was them, because a lot of times, like, yeah, like the other person could have been fucked up, but like what was my role in it, right? Because we always have a role, whether it's you know being people pleasing, not having our own backs enough, not having strong boundaries, like we always have some role. Um, but yeah, so with the sun in the sun, the Aries is like, very, very, it's ruled by Mars, but it works very well with the sun. You're here to shine, right? You're here to be this person that ultimately is, yeah, like is overcoming their karmic trauma, trust issues, and really being in their own energy, being okay with being single, being okay with like being okay with like really, really feeling into to the energy of like not having a relationship, right? And of course that's not like what's gonna happen, but um, just a lot of times when I see this, there's a level of acceptance that's needed. Um, and there can be a level of resistance as well around um just the idea of of how like of how one is in relationships, right? About how what one allows. And yeah, so Aries North Node, 29 degrees, you're here to be a boss, you're here to learn to be, good on your own, and to not accept anything that's beneath you, and to value yourself, and yeah, to find your purpose, right? Like Taurus, Taurus Sun, 11th house, a lot of that could be, very, very out there in the world, humanitarian, um, big time humanitarian service to kind of the way the world is changing spiritually. A lot of my clients are very powerful people, um, on the, a spiritual level, right? And I see the 11th house as the house of this new age, and having the north or having the sun there, it's very important for you to meet like-minded people. And it's in the sun, it's ruled by Venus, so you know, um, like with your Chiron where it is right in the 12, there can be a level of having to overcome unconscious fears, things that are very, very hard to put a pin on and understand, like what the fuck is this, like like phobias and stuff, right? um but those, like, so a lot of those can be found in the dreams, in the unconscious realms, in the meditation. But and then Chiron and Gemini, that creates someone who, or that's someone who is often, you know very outspoken, like it's not always outspoken actually, but they have their own opinions, right? And because ninth house, which is your beliefs, has Jupiter, and it's Pisces, which is a great place in a Jupiter. It's likely that you have always really, really craved on some level, whether you knew it was spiritual, defined as spiritual or not, really craving that type of energy, right? Or not energy, excuse me. Craving that type of knowledge. And yeah, now, so putting that together, right? When you have that, and you live in a society that doesn't push that, it's tough, right? It's tough. So, um, oftentimes, and so many of my clients, you have no idea. Like, it's insane how many of my clients have this placement, right? As me stop. This placement of Chiron and Gemini, right? And there's a reason for it. And the reason is that Chiron and Gemini is someone who oftentimes was made to feel that they were not smart, or that there was something about the way that they think that was off, right? So they grow up, and it's like this big quest for them to learn like I am smart. I have, maybe a different view than the consensus of what's, important and what's interesting, what's not. And it's this spiritual journey, right? This journey of overcoming that and of really, really gaining that. So yeah, no air in your chart. Well, that's difficult because air is what connects, it's the element that connects everything, right? Um, and it's about communication and seeing different perspectives. So sometimes people who lack air, so I'm impressed by you. And actually, I was just going to say you probably have some Uranus, and I was like, yeah, I already talked about some. Yeah, so your Uranus, aspects will help out a lot for the person that doesn't have air. But still, it a lot of times the people with these placements, they can just struggle to see those different perspectives, and a lot of them will not open up spiritually or to spirituality, I guess. But then, yeah, like I was saying before, the Jupiter in the ninth house is it makes a lot of things really exalted. Like it makes learning, teaching, um, like the whole idea of the person that goes out in the world, finds experiences, finds teachers, teachings, different cultures, different philosophical backgrounds, whatever. And then they're able to kind of come back and help other people, right? But communication, with the lack of air could be an issue, right? And then that's also with your Chiron in an air sign, that could speak to someone who is intelligent, but then maybe has difficulty getting their point across, perhaps. Not necessarily, but perhaps. Um, yeah, so the nodal journey, in the 10th, I think is definitely speaking to the importance of your dharma. And just the connections, like it's very, yeah, very, very, very much about giving back. Yeah. So let's see here. Where do I want to go from here? The sun is opposite Pluto. Damn. All right. Well, so here's an interesting one. Yeah. So that's about as hard as hard as it gets, right? So sun, I don't really like to go through like the whole sun is the father, moon is the mother. I just think of them as archetypes. The sun is like uh, uh, yeah, let me re-say that. Yeah, so I really don't like to think of them as the sun and the moon as mother and father. I like to think of them more as archetypes, the moon being your nurturing, how your feminine side was developed, and the sun being the psychological development of your masculine side, right? It's easier. Yeah, sometimes I do see connections with the moon representing the mother, the sun representing the father, but then oftentimes it's flip flop, and sometimes it doesn't make any sense. So I just go with my experience, of what works. So um yeah, with sun opposite Pluto, and a lot of times that is the father that was experienced, in a very like it's a very, and because it's with the nodes too, if there's one parent, so it is probably the father where there's a lot of karma with them, and it's very dark karma. So, being able to overcome that is very important. But let me get into that. Esme, what do you want? You want to help? Okay, come up here then. Yeah. Yeah, so I would say the sun opposite Pluto, some say it's the hardest aspect in astrology. There's just this really it definitely, especially as a Taurus, right? Here, as me, she wants me to play fetch with her. Taurus is a sign that doesn't like change, right? You always hear the whole thing about the stubborn Taurus. Um, Pluto forces that change. Pluto is the planet of death, rebirth, transformation. So that is a massive part of the life. Also, is how do you let go, right? Because there's going to be circumstances in life that are gonna, and that probably happened when Uranus conjuncted your sun, and the last, few years, probably, I can't think of how many years it was ago, quite a few actually, but right when it entered Taurus. But change is something that you're able to do, right? But like the thing that's interesting about that statement is that, yeah, yes, that's true from that perspective of your moon square, but then your big three are not big on change, right? Taurus isn't big on change. Virgo, yeah, it can switch. Virgo can be better. But Cancer obviously likes, the home life and all that, to chill. So, um, yeah. So, anyways, Pluto. Oftentimes in childhood, there's just a lacking of just safety. Like people with that just didn't feel safe. Usually I've seen it with like a very, very overbearing father a lot. Sometimes even um, you know, like a nasty person. And I've also seen just like a very, very domineering household that made where it's like with Pluto, it's like this option between, it's like to take on this really negative form of power, which is dominating other people and kind of like hurt ego type stuff, or real power, which is found within, right? Real power is found when we can get through the trials and tribulations of life and succeed, and get past the difficult, right? Show that resilience. So yeah, that is, I would say, like the main thing. Um, and there's usually like a lot of issues with expressing, because it creates a very strong ego a lot, and it's tough to like feel like they can express their personality safely, right? Um, Also creates usually quite a private person, very determined also, and like I said, someone who has lots of karmic trials and tribulations that they have to go through, and yeah, it's not easy stuff. sometimes people with that, they can also really want to paint the picture of themselves as that just perfect human. Um, and they can go to like extreme lengths to do that. But yeah, I mean, like the way I've seen this a lot is just like someone who, had their kind of feeling of safety, and just like, yeah, like yeah, that like just really felt early on threatened, in respect to their feeling of like root chakra security. Um, and it kind of goes hand in hand with the Virgo moon, because yeah, Virgo moon can be like control freak, can be a little bit neurotic. Not saying that's you. I'm just saying that it's the potential. And sometimes, yeah, these people, they want to have like I remember a buddy from high school that had this, and he just had to be in total control of everything, right? He was such a power like hungry person. Um, but yeah, it brings crises, like I said. And then the Taurus, Taurus likes things the same, right? So the challenge there is, yeah, it's like the mantra is like, I accept change when it comes and see it as a part of my karmic destiny to see these what seem like tumultuous, very dark um occurrences when they happen as part of my karmic movement forward, right? um so yeah, it makes that the Plutonic theme of death, rebirth, and transformation very, very, very big in your life. Lots of rebirth, lots of redefinitions, and yeah, change is a huge component of this chart. And through change comes transformation, right? So when I see these types of staples, I think like you think of the people who, some people we grew up with, and we're just so much different than them now, and they stayed the same. They kept whatever. And then people with charts like this, it's like it can be very, very hard for them to connect to their old friends, right? To the people that used to just make sense for them. It can just be very, very difficult. So yeah. Hmm. What else can I say? Yeah, so I would say for that one, especially with the Virgo moon, it's just like learning to be very um kind to the self, accept imperfections, have a sense of humor about them. Um, because it can be, like the darker side is that stubbornness, that domination, manipulation, possessiveness, jealousy, all that kind of dark Scorpio stuff, right? Because really, it's like if you don't accept the change and then imperfection, it will make it difficult for you to evolve out of that kind of darker side, right? That I just mentioned. Now, also with this comes some talents, right? Pluto is about digging deep. It's about yeah, it's about digging deep, the truth, and you have a lot of that truth seeking in your chart. So, um, yeah, like psychology, anything that gets you, spirituality that helps you understand the real truth of the world is massive. When I freeze, I'm literally just like sitting and thinking, just so you know. Or not thinking, just feeling into the energy and letting things come to me. Esme, what the fuck? Esme, where's your... Sorry, Esme is making me play fetch with her. She dropped the ball right so far away. Okay. Um, yeah, so it really is that inner work and those crises that come up that force change, right? But like even with like your ex, it's like you can in all the things you mentioned that happened to me in your email, it's like you can see those as, you know, however you want to see them, right? Are they are they just the universe fucking you, or are they challenges, you know, that you're gonna overcome, that you are overcoming? And overcoming, you know, it's a marathon, not a sprint, right? Um, so yeah, a big part of it is coming to like this comfort with your self-image, right? Yeah, really becoming comfortable with who you are, and yeah, that comes with time. Okay. And yeah, and also it's great for leadership too. Like having, you know, it can give one like a very, very deeply profound impact on others. But then because it's an opposition, it can bring like a lot of turbulent, you know, like actual like physical events, right? Yeah, that's the struggle for the Tauruses born in the Pluto and Scorpio generation who have that opposition. It's that they have one part that wants things to stay all steady and all Taurusy and all nice and smooth and chill, and then forces they're like, "Yo, we're changing, we're changing." Okay. Then you have one of the most creative aspects in your chart. That's like a lot of artists, or at least people who have a deep understanding of the arts. Neptune trine Sun, very magical placement. Makes you very compassionate, very empathetic, very good at sensing the kind of under, what's the word I'm looking for? Just the collective understand the collective unconscious, right? Really, yeah, understanding where the world is at. Um, Neptune square. Oh, okay, that's interesting. But yeah, like usually people that have like very good morals, and they're good friends. They're, yeah, very spiritual people, as I said. And yeah, they can really blend, you know, spirituality and compassion into their personality or into their being in a way that doesn't threaten other people. Like, you know how there's some really cringe spiritual people, right? Um, but then there's some that they're just cool. Like they just like you just it makes sense. You know what I mean? Like it just like, yeah, like you can hear two different things, like the same message out of two different people, and have completely different. Like one person you'd be like, "Oh, that motherfucker is crazy! Like fuck that! Like what are they talking about?" And the other person just says it in a way that's way different, and it's the same fucking message, right? That's the difference between Sun square, you know, Sun opposite square Neptune. Not that people with that can't get a point across, right? But yeah, um, yeah, it's very good for music, art, all that stuff, and really intuitive also. Very, very like potential for psychic abilities. So that's really nice. And having Jupiter in Pisces is also very good for different spiritual psychic abilities. Okay, so this one's very interesting. I know it very well because my girlfriend has it, and it's very, very tough, I think, because Mercury square Neptune. Okay, where do we get started? So your Mercury is your brain, how you think, how you talk, all that stuff. Cognition, right? It rules your moon. Now, this is really interesting connection about to make. So your moon is linked to your Mercury, and your Mercury is square Neptune, which makes your a distortion. Um, like for example, my girlfriend always like she's always misjudging things like they're so obvious to me, and but sometimes she's like really like correct about some stuff, right? That's like that like I don't even get right, you know? But then a lot of times it's like she just says things that I'm just like about, especially when it comes like people like judging people and stuff, right? Where she's just way off, but then sometimes she's way on. And it's like the more obvious stuff that she's off about and the more difficult stuff that she's right about. But so like someone can say like, how are you doing, right? And someone with Mercury square Neptune, like they can be really, really good at like, the magic, the high abstract type of learning. But then when it comes to like the basic communication, um, it's difficult, right? They really see the world through a very different lens. So it's like it's very abstract. It's not like the factual, logical world, which is interesting, right? Because if we think about um, your moon and your emotions really taking a lot from, from your cognition. And if there is the cognition or like, from the Mercury, if the Mercury has this distortion, then it can, have an effect on that. So yes, yeah, it can definitely harm relationships. There can be lots of misunderstandings where you're misunderstood and you misunderstood others. Um, is another one that's really good for, the arts. And it just gives such a vivid imagination, but sometimes too vivid, where it's like imagining things that aren't true. So I find that it's really important to have like, these rational, like people who you can kind of get second opinions on with through. And yeah, doing that before like coming to a conclusion about something. And the more you can keep it simple with communication, the better, right? Like I always say, like this one's like, you know, also with signing contracts, anything professional, definitely get like any kind of second opinion on that. Don't just sign anything. Um, and yeah, like it just creates this person who's misunderstood early on often, and then they can yeah, develop those insecurities I was talking about earlier around, how one, yeah, like of a more, yeah, mental nature, I guess, right? Um, and yeah, so yeah, avoid using drugs, being involved in any kind of like lies, scandals, stuff like that, that can kind of exacerbate that. Um, yeah, so the main thing I would say is, yeah, overactive imagination that kind of gets in the way of rational thought, and that can lead to a lot of self deception. Um, and a kind of skewed version of reality, I guess. Yeah, like I guess, yeah. Besides like like having the friends, just like really, yeah, just like really getting real with the self and yourself and the world and and awareness is the first step, like, oh, maybe this is my Mercury square Neptune happening, right? Or doing something. But then again, you have other aspects that could make this easier, right? You have your son trying, try Neptune, so that does give you that intuitive power. But you have actually, it's funny because so you have like the total chart of the person who's made to feel less than when it comes to like their intelligence early on. But then guess what? You have a great aspect for intelligence, which is Saturn trine Mercury. When those two aspect in a trine, Saturn is memory, Mercury's intelligence. So they go really well together. It makes someone who can really organize their tasks in their mind for, yeah, just getting ahead. Also, there can be like repressed talents, especially artistic talents that one feels like, oh, I can't. I was kind of talking about that at the start of the reading, right? Oh, I can't do this, I can't do that, but they really are very, very talented. So yeah, it's all about um finding those repressed talents and trying to find channels for them, right? Where you can kind of redirect that energy and in a very authentic manner. Also with like emotional commitments, relationships, friendships, all of that, just like really, really taking your time. I'm not saying you're gullible. I'm just saying take your time because you do have like the potential to be, with some of the aspects, right? To be a little bit jump this, like kind of moving fast, jumping into um, like just impulsive energy, right? So yeah, just making sure that you avoid that. Because in relationships there can be like the energy vampire types that can cling on. Okay, so moon rules your chart, so really important for you to pay attention to the lunar cycle. Cancer risings are usually quite shy, not always, but they like, the family is really important to them. They have this really familial feel, like even to people that aren't in their family. Like one of my old best friends, Cancer rising, and he had a very fiery chart, but he had this very like kind of charming like energy where it's like you just felt like he was someone you knew even if you didn't know him, like a family, like a cousin or something, right? So I think that it's a good placement. Like Kanye has it. So you know how Kanye, you want about the man, right? But you know how Kanye has this very likable kind of like outer personality. Like, you want to cheer for the guy, like he kind of like seems he has this kind of like humble like vibe to him, just the way he looks, right? I'm not talking about recent events. Um, that's a Cancer rising example. Yeah. And so yeah, Mars and Neptune together, um, that just makes one really, really compassionate. But like in the seventh house, it goes back to the nodal lesson of needing to learn to set really strong boundaries with relationships. with partners, just any close one-on-one relationships, just the need to really set those boundaries properly. And yeah, like I just think that overall that placement, like I said before, there's a connection to, to kind of like escapism. And in the seventh house, it could just make one highly romantic. But like what's cool is that, Capricorn Mars is one of my favorite Mars placements. Because they are people that they're go-getters, like they really, really go after what they want in life. And a lot of times there's a lot of early setbacks, but they get through them, they get through them. And by 30 years old, by Saturn return, they just have this massive firepower forward. And it sextiles Jupiter, which gives you lots of luck in battle or luck in any kind of ventures. But yeah, with Neptune, that's the compassionate person, like that's the person who wants to fight for the underdog in life, right? So that could be, and because it's seventh house, that could also rule clients. You might be meant to, to work in some in, and with your midheaven ruled by Neptune and Pisces, yeah, it might be spiritual work of some sort, that might be your calling, having clients that you can help heal. But there's a lot of romantic energy with Mars and Neptune, and it also gives a very special aura. It kind of fills the room. People, call attention to it, and I think, yeah, it can create like a very vital spiritual energy that can be a bit intimidating to some people, right? Um, Especially because like it's sort of the signature of someone, that other people might look at and be like, and it can kind of remind them of what they don't have. The But I would say with that one, like one of the difficulties is like it is the dreamer, right? It's the dreamer for sure. So like just being able to kind of like stay stay with your ideals, right? And um like you're completely a visionary, so it's like, and also with Moon square Uranus, your goals and like your life path, like sometimes with the Uranus energy, it takes a lot of trial and error. So it's like if there is that kind of nervousness, like, no, this isn't it. Like that's a sign, But like it really is. But like at the same time, it's like um a balance of like, am I doing the grass is green on the other side thing, or am I really just like intuitively feeling into like what the thing I'm doing now just not being for me? But yeah, just staying grounded super important. That's why I say like avoid the substances, right? Because with the Neptune Mars, there's that desire for that kind of dream realm, and obviously Earth is way not that right now. So yeah. Um, I guess like the more you can kind of surround yourself in safe environments, I guess you could say, environments that ground you and that kind of push forward that dreaminess, that's good. Um, yeah, really, really not allowing other people's view of you to get in the way of the view of yourself, which is a common trap for that. What does my program say about that? Your enthusiasm can lack boundaries. This is very simplified. Your enthusiasm can lack boundaries, then you need to learn self-discipline. You need to avoid addictive behavior and would be better off avoiding drugs or alcohol. You need to be able to escape into art or water. Oh yeah, use your energy. Maybe I'll start pulling these off because sometimes they give me seed ideas. Use your energy to create or to enjoy pursuits such as water sports. Okay, that's a little bit, yeah. Um, yeah, so lack of boundaries is definitely and learning self-discipline, like that's very linked to this karmic journey for you. Um, so what it means here by you need to be able to escape into, water. Water is it represents compassion. It's the water signs, Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio. So into those realms, so that's a big thing for you. Um, see what I have you at the loaded sixth house. Let's talk about love a little bit, right? I'm kind of curious if they write Venus and Taurus. Yeah, I mean, whatever. Yeah, so Venus and Taurus. So Venus is what you value. Venus and Taurus people they love. I guess I'll go camera. But did you email me today? Hold on. Sorry. I'm just gonna pause it for. Okay, I am back. Okay, so anyways, yeah, so love life. Venus and Taurus, they need that consistency in love. They love the touch. They love the senses. They value stability. They value, they want a partner they can rely on and that's not going to change up and be this like erratic, different type of person. That's not to say they want a boring partner, but they want it's an earth sign, so they value being able to build foundations. It's kind of like Capricorn in that sense. Um, and yeah, they're very, very touchy feely. They want, they're artistic too. They like things to look nice, to smell nice, to feel nice. Some nice furry blankets. They like to kind of cuddle up. That's also a very Taurus thing. And yeah, like in love, yeah, they definitely prefer the partners who you know, who are kind of more chill, I guess. More chill, more laid back. Um And yeah, they prefer to take things slow and steady, which is very, very important for you with the rest of things in your chart. And it's usually very good for, like, reliable for finances. Um, and yeah, sometimes, like, I think one thing to watch out for romantically is like, the too good to be true type vibes, but also, with Neptune in your seventh house, that is the ultimate potential for having issues with boundaries and relationships, and thinking like something, like if it's too good to be true, probably is, right? And having these, like with Mars, like these like very just like romantic, crazy, just like out of this world, the pink cloud period being so good, ignoring red flags. Like I see that with so many clients, and again, they're like these difficult relationships. Venus and Taurus is good for money, good for building things. Good taste too. Love their home. Their home is so important. It needs to feel like, that's another thing with a partner. They need to feel like their home is really like them. Um, yeah. And then it's the 11th house. So 11th house Venus, sometimes they sometimes it's very, very good for attracting lots of friends. Definitely, definitely, definitely. Um, and yeah, it's also good for like long term. Hold on a sec. My brother just ended things with this girl. Wow, yeah. Hold up, hold up, hold up. Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Sometimes Venus 11th house people also like their life purposes, like and this is a theme in your chart. It's a lot of trial and error, but like they have like this very big picture goal. It's like a goal that takes like a whole lifetime of different trial and errors, different things, doing this, doing this, doing that, and then they get to that goal, right? And yeah, like I said, very, very good for attracting friends, being the peacemaker within the friend groups, and yeah, like also just wanting friends you can depend on, and the potential of meeting a lover in your group of friends, and wanting a relationship where that you can hang out with your friend groups in the relationship. Um, More on that vibe. So like in love, a moon in Virgo. Come here, Esme. You want to help? Come here, Esme. Okay, fine. A moon in Virgo in love, it's similar, right? It actually trines. You a trines. You have a moon trine Venus, right? So that creates a lot of charm. And it's actually really, really good for having very harmonious relationships. Like a nice balance of give and take in relationships. So and it's very good for like creative talents. Now, back to the whole karmic thing, right? Pluto with the nodes in Libra. Um, like Pluto conjunct South Node, there can be like this tendency to be like too enthralled in the dramas of life. And yeah, it's really like this karmic journey about rising above negativity. So like, um, yeah, and the fact that the South Node's there, it also would speak to um you know, also with that, like, it's about like using your resources for the good of other people, right? Like the resources, like the growth, like, so being that healer. But South and fourth house, it's like you're here to really grow in and get past any fears of putting yourself out there in the outer world, right? Um, there's been too much of a past life tendency for you, Libra fourth house, and it makes so much sense of being the wife, of being the whatever sex, gender, that sacrifices their creative, individualistic potential for just being, that person that just stays in and doesn't really get to where they want to get to, you know? So yeah. Um, so yeah, South North Node in areas, like even in these relationships, you need to keep your own independence, right? You need to still feel as though you are assertive, self-empowered on your own track in the world and in your destiny, right? um because there's that tendency to always consider other people's needs first. So yeah, it's really about like discovering your own identity, initiating things that are true to your heart. And yeah, so um backtrack, yeah, okay. So I would say like Mars and Neptune, where they are too, that gives more credence to like you could have a very like, actually, like, okay, so with pets you could have a really amazing spiritual, like pets can be your literal teacher. And I know how much Taurus, Cancer, Virgo loves pets, especially dogs. But yeah, like you can gain a lot through pets. And um the romantic lesson is very interesting, but a lot of it is linked to your raising your spiritual knowledge. So adventures, right? Like Jupiter, ninth house, is the person who is, yeah, just like this insatiable need to understand the meaning of life, right? This endless quest for knowledge, right? Through traveling physically to different cultures or metaphorically to different philosophies, right? And yeah, just like, always being willing to, yeah, with Pisces, it gives you this very intuitive search for truth. Like you're in a very intuitive search for truth, so you can kind of tell what's BS, what's not. And yeah, once again, like just the champion of the underdog, right? And then with Vesta right there, yeah, just like lots of focus on discovering the higher truths in life, the higher wisdom. And Vesta in Pisces, that's someone who wants to, work for the source of humanity. It's all over your chart. You're a healer. Um, and your work. So this is also like in your chart too. Your work can feel very overwhelming and like, fuck this shit. Excuse me, my French. Um, unless there's like a spiritual component to it, or like an individualistic component to it, like where you're feeling freedom and you can be very organized in your work. But yeah. And lots of lessons about how you allow yourself to experience new wisdom and new truths. Um, karmic, yeah, lots of karma around travels, and just like higher education. Um, but it's through those very things that you can attain your doorway to higher awareness, the vertex. But also, sixth house is about service in your daily routine. Now, speaking of your daily routine, Uranus there, I have that. Um, it's 3:43 and whatever, fuck it, who gives a shit? So um, it's like you. make your own rules with routine, not following society, right? You want to imprint your own individuality into your day-to-day life. And then sixth house Taurus or Saturn also just gives like a lot of structure in your daily work, right? Like that's what gives me my organization to have that, right? Right. But if you overwork, you can have some health issues, right? And because there is addiction in your chart, potential for that, which I know you most likely don't have, it's not just addiction, it's just escapism. It's not wanting to really connect with what is. So besides that, with romance, yeah, I think with the moon in Virgo, yeah, it's just like the consistency, someone who like gives you, honors you for like the small things you do, right? Um, like you can really, really count on them. You know who that person is. Like there's no chance in hell they're changing. And then with the square in Uranus, someone who's also willing to change, and this goes like not boring, willing to kind of risk things. And with Juno, which is your ideal husband, conjunct Saturn and Uranus in Sag in the sixth house, it really, really sums it up well. Your ideal mate is someone, it could be someone from a different culture, someone who you can have deep philosophical talks with, who together you guys raise your ideas of truth and you want to like, yeah, experience a lot of the world and not closed-minded at all, but then also someone who's dialed in, who has their shit together in the sense that, they like, because like health is very important to you. And with the sixth house like that, it's like it really is about finding dialing in that like really perfect day-to-day routine that works best for you, which takes a lot of fine tuning, whether it's the meditation, the workouts, the blah blah blah, right? Okay, so your Mercury's in the 10th house, so that could speak to like two careers, right? And you have a mutable midheaven, so you could have the money maker and the passion at the same time. Mercury there, it could be like a career in communications or education, anything that involves sharing information, networking. But it's in Aries, so it makes one a very independent thinker. Um, Sometimes they can be a bit loud, but like get these flashes of intuition. Um, Maybe not loud, just like fast talkers. But yeah, the fact that it squares Neptune, it just speaks to like that need to kind of have everything dialed in when it comes to clarity of mind. Okay. So yeah, Jupiter makes everything bigger. So Jupiter and Pisces, it makes your spiritual. So like yeah, like your spiritual education is a huge part of your life. Um, But yeah, I feel like a chart like this is someone who has like a tribe, whether it's like a cause or actual people that they're meant to really connect with. Um, and yeah, you're here. Like the biggest thing I can say is like Sun conjunct North Node is you're here to leave behind these past inhibitions, um, things that held you back, and just be yourself. Be a little bit selfish in this lifetime, not in a bad way, not like an extreme. Just really it's about, and this is Pluto in the fifth house too, right? That gives you this need to express yourself creatively, to take creative risks on yourself, right? So there can be a little bit of fears there. But it's like the more that you can lean into that inner child energy, the better. um so yeah, I mean, like a lot will come up in your life that will, like events, right? Like I was saying before, they'll really, really make you like push you towards your highest potential, but won't be easy. Um, and there can be like a lot of like, the family and just like private life and just different like karmic people like demanding a lot of attention and at different times. And I think with any node sun type vibe, it's just the hero's journey, the Jungian or the Joseph Campbell hero's journey. Um, and because it's placed where it is, it's like, yeah, expressing yourself through yeah, like your profession or a group or a cause or whatever. um Usually people with this, they have a message that they haven't shared because of different fears and past lives that needs to be heard by many people, right? Not just the people close to around them, which is with the south node where it is. So okay. Yeah, part of fortune and sad and sick, like just the fact that like for you service equals joy, right? It's all over your chart. And part of fortune and sad, it's like higher learning and travel equals joy, right? New adventures, freedom, right? Freedom is so important to you. But Saturn in interesting, right? Because Saturn there, um, that's interesting. Because Saturn and Sagittarius, maybe for the first 30 years, could have like held you back in that respect, of like let's say being able to travel, being able to learn from the right people, and then then you meet the right people post Saturn return potentially, right? Um, but yeah, sometimes people with that they can be a little bit like skeptical and very very doubting. So it's just like leaning into that, just like letting go and just believing, following that intuition, that heart chakra. Um, but yeah, I would say like the cool thing about that is that like you prefer to work through, via your own rules as opposed to like following someone else's truth or belief, right? Um, so yeah, a lot of people with that they do denounce like organized systems, as I said before. But yeah, like I would say like the journey with that is that there's like a lot just being tested, like your faith being tested frequently in your life, right? And I would say also because that Sag rules the future, there can be a fear of the future. So mindfulness can be really, really important. Okay. So yeah, like I said, Chiron Gemini, learning to trust your own thought processes, your own communication style, your own intelligence. And people with that, they got like bullied early on and kind of yeah. And Chiron 12th house is like very much about like yeah, deeply buried wounds, as I was saying before, but it is like the spiritual healer, right? Black Moon, so Black Moon, well, actually Pallas is with the ascendant, right? So that just makes you an expert planner, someone who's like kind of a chess player in life. Like you know the right moves to make to get to where you want to get. And it's a very open third eye in Cancer. Um, very, very intuitive, right? Like, and relying on your emotions to kind of guide your opinions and your thoughts. And it makes you a very good listener, right? So yeah, very creative and yeah, yes, a palace. And then Sirius is in Virgo, so that's like a second moon sign, but it's in the same sign as your moon, but like it's not as important as the moon, obviously. So yeah, it's just like yeah, you feel kind of nurtured and you nurture others by the small acts that you do, the service that you do, and also by receiving that, when and also when people help you kind of perfect your own skills and when they do small things for you. And third house serious people are very generous in their praise for other people and they like compliments too, they're very good networkers. Um, yeah. So just by itself, Mars in the seventh gives like a strong drive towards intimate relationships. But then like when they get the relationships, they want to remain independent. But like yeah, like I said with Neptune, um, yeah, it can create that potential for just really taking things slow. I think is super important for you, and yeah, that's really important. Hey, Esme, you want to help? Hey, you know the rules. Look at the thing on the chart that is most important. Okay, please. Jupiter. Thanks, Esme. She looks right at Jupiter and Pisces, which I've been talking about a fuck ton, which it is kind of close to midheaven. So yeah, that will give you a lot of luck in career, a lot of luck when you travel, a lot of luck when you find the right astrologers. Just joking. But like yeah, like lots of luck when you do embark on that spiritual journey, right? Um and yeah, like you're gonna know more than most people. So really just having boundaries around what you know. Sometimes it's just not worth engaging with people, right? Um, I would say like on the dark side of Pluto's fifth house, there can sometimes be like an obsessive need for attention. Um, and if you do have children, sometimes there can be like overly dominant with them. But yeah, like that's just like the lower potential. And Black Moon Lilith, which is like, you know, your how you defeat yourself potentially. Um, I would say that in Gemini, you know, the shadow of Gemini is obviously lying, being two-faced, um, overly talking, not listening well, which you do have some good aspects of that. So yeah. Um, in the 12th, yeah, and I would say there's a fear of rejection with Black and Lilith and Gemini. Sometimes they can be really terrified of other people's opinions, and like want that, like I said before, that acceptance by everyone. And sometimes they can like reject others before they feel like they're gonna get rejected, which they're not. So it's like really about like, you know, defining your own individuality, your own tastes. Um, and you know, am I like ask yourself like, am I doing this for me or for someone's approval, right? Hold up, hold up, hold up, hold up. I wanna get some real quick, real quick, real quick, real quick. All right, let's check this. Okay, okay, hold on, hold on. I just had to text Haley, because I'm actually fired up right now, and I was like, we have like a joint reading to do. We have to do it tomorrow. I just want to see if she wanted to do it today. Okay, I want to see something real quick, real quick. Yeah, okay. A need for introspection. Ooh, you're either fascinated by your unconscious or you try to deny its existence. You can be afraid of the supernatural, but at the same time, you're more receptive to it than most people. Some people that don't like being alone. It can make you not see it clearly sometimes when it comes to relationships. It can be, oh yeah, yeah, this is one. A potential tendency to play victim, and they can fall prey to manipulation. And there can, yeah, like I said before, the potential for over idealizing someone, and the potential, yeah, like I said before, it goes along with so much in your chart, like being um detached from reality during times of stress. Yeah, it makes you really like, yeah, really, really good with like the occult, esoteric, a daydreamer, very sensitive to the suffering of others. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, okay. This is what I was looking for. So it can play out as repressing your feminine side, regardless of your gender. People this place can be afraid of trusting their intuition. That's it right there. Boom, boom, boom. Being vulnerable, giving, nurturing. They can also be afraid of being helpless, and they can be domineering in their attempts at maintaining their power. This placement suggests an underlying anxiety. And also there can be secret love affairs that can cause, that cause scandals. But don't do that. Most people with this are taught that sex is wrong, shamed for their sexuality, and there can be nightmares. All right, cool. Yeah, I'm happy I looked into that. I usually don't do that, but that's interesting stuff. Um, wait, did it have? Wait. Yeah. So what I love about like the Jupiter and Pisces is that like you intuitively know when you're on that right path, right? Um, that right spiritual path, like which I said before. So that's really dope. Um, yeah, I love it. Such a daydreamer. Yes. And it's like, how can you learn from your imagination and then craft your perfect life based on that? I think that's one of the big questions. Okay. Um, so you get that, yeah, that square between Saturn and Jupiter. Sometimes people with that, they can put themselves down, have like a poor ability, not ability, the fuck am I saying? They can have like a poor view of their own ability, I guess. So yeah, it's really important not to like compare yourself to others. Just believe in yourself and yeah, not care what people think. Um, yeah, so not many aspects in this chart. Um, yeah, okay, let's pull this up. Pull there's, all right, let's see. Yeah, so you are a truth-seeking Virgo. The nebula is close enough to your moon. That's like one of the, and it's on your IC. So it's like that is one of the astrology esoteric stars. So it makes sense. Okay. Algol's kind of close to your Venus, but that's like really good for art. It gets a really bad rep with Venus. It's really, really good for art. Um, Urania, which is the aspect of astrology, is not far from your sun. So you could be an astrologer, honestly. A lot of my clients, and I teach astrology if you're ever interested. I do. It's the best package that exists. Um, it's one-on-one. I don't believe in like the group classes because I just want people to really, really get it. And I've seen people pay thousands of dollars. But yeah, let me know if you're interested in that ever. Okay, Midheaven has a more on it, so that is beautiful in Pisces. Oh wow, and Markab. So that gives you this. Okay, so a more is really this asteroid about universal love and compassion. So the fact that you have that in your midheaven means that you come off in that way to other people, which is great. So people will really mess with you and really, really see you in a nice light. Um, let's see. Stop. Centauri. All right. So let's see. These are kind of like the cherries on top. And there's so many of them that it's hard to know. Yeah, like I'm still gaining information on it. Yeah, so Mars with Sappho is it's like a love warrior. Um it can actually lend like kind of like a masculine air to females, like kind of James Bond vibes. Not like in that way, but you know what I mean? Like kind of like a go-getter. Yo, what the fuck, guys? What was that? Cats. Ina, what did you just break? Get over here. Stop running. She's so fast. Oh my god. Oh my god, you are a cheetah and you look like a cheetah. Get over here. Gotcha. Dipring, dipring. You stay here. You're so This cat, the second you touch her, you grab her, she starts purring. So cute. Like literally. Right now she's not doing it because she's like all hyper. Double Aries. With Jupiter on her. Sun and moon, so lucky. She wanna get it. Okay. Yeah. And then there's other things in your chart like that point to like, like something with gender roles, which I see that a lot because obviously as old souls, right? Cancer rising, you know, there is a level of a lot of times it's like if you're an advanced soul, you're maybe like 50% male, 50% female in incarnations, right? So there could be like a recent gender change in recent lifetimes, or just kind of identifying with some feminine, some masculine stuff. Yeah. Okay, so Saturn with Antares. So I'm gonna look at this. So some people that can be a little bit overly materialistic. Really, really watch out for anything legal. I'm not saying anything bad will happen, but just really with any kind of contracts, anything like that, don't take credit or try not to. Yeah, but it's hard to find information. I think taking small amounts of garlic daily would help the nerves, like a health astrology thing. Um, where's Okay. Internal conflict between good and evil, interested in playing the sinner or saint, swinging between polarities, black and white, often demonized or sanctified with any good reason. Easy to typecast. Okay, that's a better one. Okay, what else we got here? So Castor on your ascendant. So this is you're born during the day, yeah. So yeah, I mean it's very good for business, for learning, just success in general, intellect. And people born during the day who have that are very good with they love to learn, scholars, speakers, lovers of like the arts and music, usually good looking, right? Um, and someone who's like capable of lots of different activities, right? And very fit for business, spiritual, good for yeah, for money. It's a very good placement. Um, Now, what was the other one? Yeah, so the Marcab being on your MC with a more, so that's just like in Pisces, just like the most compassionate shit ever. That can just make one like very changeable in business. So lots of like kind of yeah, change of careers and even of fortunes, but like the key to that is to um the key to that is to attach the spiritual, like to not be too much the material, to have like that kind of connection, that balance between the spiritual and the material. Yeah. Well, super fucking in depth. Um, so if you want to add the follow up, nearly everyone adds current astrology and follow up. Um, I would be willing to offer. Usually it's like way more expensive. It's around a 3 hour session. Hour one is the follow up. We go over all of this. You take notes, right? It's you're leading that session, and I'm answering any questions, and we're comparing your lived experience with what I said today. This is the best thing for getting the full experience, right? That's hour one. And you could do just one, but most people like to do that, both. And then the second is predictive astrology. That's where I go over transits, progressions, the solar return chart, which is the chart of this year, um, house ingress of the different outer planets, right? Basically telling you, progress lunar cycle, which is huge. Basically giving you an idea of where you're at now and where you're going. So let me know if you want to do that. Um, I could do it for 360 combined. Usually it's like 570 or something like that. But 360 is cool, especially if you have Revolut or Cash App or Wise, something that has no fees, um, is awesome. So yeah, let me know. No pressure either way. And thank you so much, and I'll talk to you later. Ciao.